Ahoy, mateys. My name is Captain Anand Ranganathan. And as you can see, I've had to give up my life on the seven seas because of the pandemic. But instead, I'm doing something far more exciting. I'm the Chief AI Officer of Unscramble. Unscramble is a startup that makes it far easier for users to get access to data and insights through something that we've pioneered called conversational analytics. The goal of conversational analytics is to allow users to ask questions in plain English and get back answers again in the form of plain English, as well as charts and other visualizations as is best suited for the question that was being asked. So we want to make it as easy as possible for business users in different kinds of organizations in different industries to be able to get interesting insights from the data just by conversing with a bot. And in this particular video, I'm going to focus on a domain that I'm very familiar with, being a pirate. I'm going to focus on wealth management. So in the wealth management space, we want to allow users of different kinds, from the CEO to the CFO to the CMO, to relationship managers, to wealth advisors, to people in the marketing department, to people in fraud investigation or anti-money laundering departments, to be able to ask interesting questions about the data and play with the raw data themselves and get the information they need to make decisions. So for instance, we want users to be able to ask questions like, how many customers have assets under management under $1 million? Or why did a certain customer, say John Smith's AUM, assets under management, decrease in August 2020? Or which ad channels resulted in the greatest increase in revenue? Or which kinds of customers should I target with a new kind of offer? So all these kinds of questions, they actually span the whole space from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive. So we want people to go from just understanding the data to deciding what actions to take, all by conversing with our bot Cubo, which acts as your personal AI data analyst. So for instance, a relationship manager could ask questions like, which of my customers have fixed income assets and live in New York State? Or they might ask questions like, compare John Smith's asset allocation with the average in my branch. The CFO could ask questions like, who are my top 10 customers in order of revenue? Or why did revenue decline in a given month? Or in the case of fraud detection and risk management, people could ask questions like, which customers have made a whole bunch of small transactions, like $10,000 or less in the last month? Marketing analysts could ask questions like, how many customers respond to a new campaign? Or they can ask Cubo to help them create a new list of customers for a new kind of offer. Maybe create a list of all customers over 65 years old who live in Connecticut and who don't have an IRA. So let's actually now dig into a demo to see how all this comes together in our web interface. Cubo is also available on Microsoft Teams, but I'm going to show a demo on the web interface. So when I log in, I'm not going to log in as Joe since I don't like to use my real name as a pirate. When I log in, I get information about the number of questions that were asked, who are the top people asking questions, kinds of questions that people have been asking, as well as some information about the kinds of entities or tables that are available in the data set that I can ask questions about. In this particular case, we've connected Cubo to a database on Snowflake. Cubo supports a whole bunch of other databases as well. But this database has tables about customers, relationship managers, portfolios, holdings, assets, and several others. So I'm going to start asking questions about these different concepts. So let's get into that. Let's zoom in a bit and see how all this comes together. So in order to start asking questions, I'm going to start creating a new thread. So in this case, let me call this thread Captain's Log. And when I create a new thread, I get some initial information about what Cubo can do. I'm going to click Get Me Started, which gives me some initial pointers of the kinds of data I can ask questions about, as well as some example questions. So I'm going to click on questions, and I'm going to see some example questions. Questions like total revenue this year monthly, or asset revenue, or total revenue by category. Let me pick one of them, say asset revenue this year monthly. So when I ask this question, this gets automatically converted into a SQL query that goes against the backend data, gets back the answers, and decides the best possible visualization. So if I dig a bit deeper, I can see that this is coming as a line chart. I can also look at it as a bar chart. I can also look at the actual SQL query that got generated and that went to the backend database. So this is actually a SQL query that went to the backend database to get back the answers, which Cubo then converted and presented as a line chart. So we noticed something over here interesting in this chart. We see that the revenue in March was much lower than February. So let's diagnose this and see what happens. So I can ask a question like, why is the revenue in March 2020 less than in Feb 2020? So now Cubo is actually going to dig into some details of why this revenue went down. But first, there was some ambiguity. I just said revenue over here, and Cubo felt there were different ways of interpreting revenue. Did I mean total revenue or asset revenue or loan revenue or something else? So Cubo actually prompts the user and helps clarify what the actual intent is. So let's say I pick what's the total revenue or why is total revenue down. So now Cubo is going to analyze different aspects or dimensions and come up with some interesting insights. It's going to report that revenue went down by 35%. And the main reasons are because revenue from treasury bills went down, which is a holding subtype, or another interesting reason is revenue from holdings, which are of type money market instruments, went down. Revenue from relationship managers in the East Coast went down. Revenue from customers who are over 71 years old went down, and so on. So Cubo automatically went through the entire data set related to revenue, looked at different ways of breaking down revenue, found out the most interesting ways of breaking down revenue, and came up with the top values in those dimensions that could best explain why revenue went down. So let's actually dig a bit deeper. Since this is a conversation system, I can refine and dig deeper. So for instance, I can say refine and show by RM zone ID. And in this case, it's going to now focus on this one specific dimension, the zone of the relationship manager. So in this case, it says that revenue from managers in the East Coast went on the most, followed by the West Coast, followed by Central. I can also say refine and show by RM branch ID. It's going to go between different branches. So for instance, now I see that revenue from relationship managers in branch 4006 actually went down a lot. So let's actually go further. Now let's look at what's going on with customers in this branch. So I can maybe start with a basic question like, what is the total number of customers in RM branch ID 4006? So again, Cubo is going to convert that into SQL, and now it's going to give me some answers, some specific ways of interpreting the question. I'm going to pick one of them, get this answer, and I'm going to now show a different feature of Cubo, which is adding to a board. So in this case, I'm now going to look at the board because I find this as an interesting insight. So here I can pin it to a board. I can further expand over here. So let's say I want to drill down by age group as well as by risk rating. I'm going to apply these changes. And now Cubo is now going to show me the number of customers in that branch for different age groups and for different risk ratings. So it says, okay, it broke it down to different age groups, 71 plus, 51 to 60, 31 to 40, different risk ratings, R1, R2, R3, R4. And let's see, maybe I drill down and maybe I want to give an offer to customers in this particular segment. I'm going to drill down and get their names and now look at it as a table. And now I can download this list of customers. Maybe I want to send them an offer of a certain kind because they have a very specific set of characteristics. I'm going to send them an offer and target them appropriately. So that's one way I can actually now go and figure out and maybe take some action about the revenue being down for that particular branch. So that summarizes our tool. Hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to working with you as we redefine the future of work. You can check us out at www.cubo.ai. Thank you.